Chosen one, you did not find this. You were sent here. There is a difference between those two things, and by the time this message is over, you will understand exactly why that difference matters more than almost anything else I am about to say. Most people move through their days making small choices: what to open, where to look, what to let in. And most of the time, those choices belong entirely to them. But there are moments when something greater takes the lead, quietly, without announcement, and places you directly in front of a word you were not looking for, but have been waiting for longer than you realize. This is one of those moments. Before I go any further, I want to ask you something. In the last several months, or maybe longer, have you had the feeling that where you are standing is no longer where you belong? Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way you could explain easily at a dinner table without sounding strange. Just a quiet, persistent sense underneath everything that says, this is not it anymore. Something else is pressing against the edges of my life from the outside. Something forward. If that feeling is familiar to you, stay close. Because what I am about to say was placed in front of you today for a reason. God has a specific word for someone receiving this right now. Someone standing at the edge of a new season, feeling the pull of something they cannot yet see clearly, but cannot stop feeling. The word is this. God said, pack up. New location, new people, new blessings, new life. Not as distant promises, as a decree already in motion, orchestrated before you had language for it, before you felt ready, before you had any evidence it was safe to move. I want you to stay until the end of this message, because I am going to show you the specific signs that confirm this season has already begun in your life. I am going to give you a framework that will tell you exactly how to know the difference between running away from something and being genuinely called forward. I am going to walk you through what God does with the people in your new season and why the clearing that has been happening around you is not loss. It is preparation. And at the end of this, I am going to speak something over your life that I believe you have needed to hear before you could take the next step. What you are about to receive is worth staying for. Now let me show you where this all begins. There is a moment that most chosen ones in this season can recognize when they really sit with it. It is rarely the moment you expect. It is not always a dramatic shift, or a crisis, or a sign in the sky. Sometimes it is an ordinary morning, coffee in hand, standing at a window, looking at the same view you have looked at for years, and something inside you says quietly, I do not belong here anymore. Not because the view is ugly, not because the life is wrong, but because something inside you has been growing past the edges of this space, and the space no longer holds it, like a room that was once exactly the right size, and then slowly, without you noticing, became too small. And one day you wake up and you can feel the walls. Maybe it was not a window. Maybe it was a conversation with someone you love, where you found yourself nodding and smiling while something inside you was somewhere else entirely. Not because you stopped caring, but because you had quietly outgrown the ceiling of that exchange. Maybe it was at work, or in a community you once called home, or in a gathering where everyone around you seemed fully settled, and you felt like a stranger in your own life. You could not name it then. You may not be able to name it fully now, but you felt it. And that feeling, that specific, persistent, unsettling feeling, is not restlessness. It is not ingratitude. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you or the people around you. It is recognition. Your spirit recognizing a command it received long before your mind had words for it. And I want to show you 5 signs that confirm what you have been sensing is real. The first sign is that the conversations around you have started to feel smaller, not because the people are smaller, not because they have done anything to deserve that, but because the things that once held your full attention and felt alive to you have started to feel like a language you no longer speak fluently. You listen, you engage, but there is a part of you that is always slightly ahead, standing in the doorway of a room that everyone else is still fully inside, wondering when it became so hard to simply be present. The second sign is a pull you cannot explain towards something you cannot yet name. Not a specific destination, not a clear plan, just a compass that will not settle. A knowing that says, not here, without being able to say where. And every time you try to dismiss it as wishful thinking or spiritual immaturity, it comes back, patient, steady, unmoved by your attempts to reason it away. The third sign is that your dreams, the waking ones, have gotten louder. The ones that show you a version of your life that has not happened yet. The ones that feel more like memory than imagination. The ones that leave you with a longing that is not sadness. It is holy anticipation, like something in you already knows what is coming and is leaning toward it. The fourth sign is that what used to feel like home has started to feel like a waiting room, like a place that served its purpose beautifully, held you through everything it was designed for, and is now quietly, gently releasing you. The peace you once felt here has begun to feel more like stillness before movement than the stillness of arrival. The fifth sign is a new intolerance for the old patterns. The drama that once pulled you in no longer interests you. The environments that once felt normal now feel suffocating, and instead of feeling guilty about that, which I know you have been part of, you feels almost relieved, like your spirit is drawing a line that your mind has not yet caught up with. If you recognized yourself in even 3 of those 5 type, I hear it in the comments right now. Not for me, for yourself. Because the moment you name what you are sensing, you begin to move toward it. Now I want to take you somewhere that will reframe everything you have been feeling, because this command, the one pressing against your life right now, is not new. It is the oldest divine directive on record. In the original Hebrew, the language of the earliest scripture, there is a phrase that appears at one of the most pivotal moments in human history. God, speaking to a man who had built a life, who had a country, a circle, a family structure that had held him for decades. And what God said to him was 2 words. Lecha, go to yourself. Not just move your location. Go toward the version of yourself that cannot be formed where you have been living. Go toward the person you were designed to become, who is waiting on the other side of your obedience. The man who received this word did not know where he was going. The ancient text says that clearly he went out, not knowing where he was going. He had a direction, but not a map. A call, but not a complete plan. His name was Abraham. And what God told him to leave mirrors almost exactly the 4 things God is telling you now. Leave your country, your location. Leave your people, your circle. Leave your father's house, the identity, the provision, the structure that had defined him, and in their place receive what his current location could never contain. Abraham did not obey because he had no fear. He obeyed in the presence of his fear. He went not because it was easy, but because the version of himself he was meant to become could not be formed where he currently was. The same is true of you. Now you might be thinking, I understand the command, I understand the signs, but what exactly is this new location? What does that actually mean? I am going to answer that in full. But I need to show you something first, something that most people completely misunderstand about this message. Because the new location God is calling you toward is not primarily a place on a map. And when you understand what it actually is, everything about how you move in this season will change entirely. If what you have heard so far has confirmed something in your spirit, press the like button right now, not for this channel, because someone else is waiting to find this word tonight, and your agreement is what sends it further. Now let me tell you what the new location actually is. Because most people hear God said go to a new place and immediately think geography, a different city, a different house, a different address on a different street. And sometimes, yes, it is exactly that. Sometimes the call is literal and physical and specific. But here is what I have come to understand, and I believe this is the thing that will shift everything for you. If you move your body to a new place and bring your old frequency with you, you have not relocated. You have simply taken your old life on a road trip. Think of it like a navigation system, a real one. One that does not care how long you have been going in the wrong direction or how many times you passed the same exit and kept driving. The only thing it asks is, where do you want to go from here? And then, without blame, without a lecture, without making you feel foolish for every wrong turn, it recalculates a new route from your exact current position. God is not standing over you frustrated that you stayed where you were as long as you did. He is not reviewing the years and shaking his head. He is simply recalculating, pointing you forward from wherever you are standing right now. But a new location, a real one, requires 3 things from you. And none of them are what most people expect. The first is this. You have to be willing to leave the version of yourself that needed the old place. That version of you was not wrong. Everything that person survived, learned, built, and carried in that season was real and necessary. But the next version, the one this new location is designed for, cannot be born from the same soil. A seed does not grow in the same ground forever. At some point, it becomes the tree, and the tree needs different ground, more space, more air than the seed ever did. You have become the tree, and God is asking you to stop trying to fit into the seed's container. The second thing is this. You have to release what you built there that was never yours to keep. Not everything. Some of what you carry moves with you. The wisdom, the depth, the character that was forged in the difficult years, that is yours, that comes forward. But some of what you built in the last season was built for that season. Relationships formed around who you were then. Roles you stepped into because that chapter needed someone to fill them. Versions of yourself held together by the agreement of people who are no longer growing in the same direction. Those things do not belong in the next chapter, and clinging to them is not honoring them. It is only delaying you. The third, and this is the one that requires the most trust, is this. You have to be willing to arrive before you fully understand why you are there. Abraham lived in his new land for years before the full scope of his assignment became clear. He arrived before the promise was entirely revealed. The location was the classroom, and what it taught him about God and about himself could not have been learned from where he was standing before he moved. You will not arrive knowing everything. You are not supposed to. The new location is not a reward for understanding. It is where the understanding is given. Now, before you take any step in this season, I want to give you something practical, something that will help you discern what is actually happening in your spirit right now. I call it the Relocation Discernment Protocol. 3 questions. Ask them honestly, and they will tell you more than any amount of analysis will. The first question is, am I moving away from something, or am I being pulled toward something? Fear moves away. Calling moves toward. They can look identical from the outside, same action, same direction, sometimes the same result. But on the inside, they feel completely different. Fear drives, calling draws. If what you are feeling right now is more like being pulled forward than pushed out, that is not fear. Wearing the mask of faith, that is the real thing. The second question is, does staying feel comfortable, or does it only feel familiar? Comfort is real. It can mean you are in the right place for this season, but familiarity is not comfort. Familiarity is simply the absence of the unfamiliar. You can be quietly diminishing in a familiar environment and call it peace. You can be carrying a version of yourself that stopped growing 2 years ago and call it stability. Ask yourself honestly, is the reason you are still here genuine peace, or is it only that this place has the shape of something you have known for a long time? The third question is, does the pull toward the new come with peace or only with excitement? Excitement is real, but it fades when the logistics get complicated. Peace is different. Peace is the one that stays after the excitement has quieted, when the people around you do not understand, when the path is not clear, when the rational mind has run out of reasons, and something deeper is still saying, go. That kind of peace does not come from preference. It comes from somewhere higher. Now let me tell you something about the sequence that almost everyone gets wrong. They try to find the new people first. They think, if I could just find my community, the ones who understand me, the ones who speak the same language, I have been speaking alone for so long, then I could move. Then I would feel sure. Then it would not feel so much like freefall. But that is not the order. The reason the right people have not fully arrived yet is not because they do not exist. It is because the version of you they are looking for has not stepped fully into place yet. New people recognize new you. They are calibrated for who you are becoming, not who you have been. And if you arrive at the next chapter, still wrapped in the old story, still leading with the old identity, still relating through the old wounds, they will not recognize you. Not because they cannot see, because you have not yet shown up as the person they were placed in your life to meet. The location shift comes first. Then the people follow. And underneath all of this, underneath the question of where and when and how, there is something that does not get named very often, something many chosen ones in this season are carrying. It is guilt. The guilt of pulling away from conversations that no longer fit. The guilt of protecting your energy when people who knew the old version of you still expect access to it. The guilt of outgrowing a community, a relationship, a version of yourself, not because anyone did anything wrong, but because you are no longer the same person. That guilt is real, and I am not going to dismiss it, but I am going to say this clearly. Guilt is an emotion, and like all emotions, it can be right or it can be misdirected. And when guilt is keeping you tethered to a version of yourself that God is calling you to release, that guilt is not conviction. It is a chain dressed as loyalty. You are allowed to outgrow the place. You are allowed to outgrow the circle. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that the people around you still expect. You are allowed to protect what God is building in you, even when those who love you cannot yet see what that is. And you do not owe anyone, not a single person, an explanation for becoming who you were always intended to be. There is one more thing I want to mention before we go further, and I will come back to it in more depth later in this message. I have been reading about a discovery in neuroscience that helps explain something I have noticed about chosen ones in transition. Why some people, when they make the move, seem to recalibrate almost immediately. The right doors begin to open. The right people begin to appear. Things start aligning in ways that feel like more than coincidence. And why others carry their old frequency into the new location and find that it takes far longer than it should, not because they disobeyed, but because something in the mind is still broadcasting the old signal even when the body has moved. There is a scientific explanation for that difference, and I believe it may be one of the most important things I share with you today. But first I need to show you what God is doing with the people He is about to place in your new season. Because what has been clearing around you, the circle that has grown quiet, the connections that have faded, the relationships that have become unexpectedly distant, it is not random loss. It is the most deliberate, careful, intentional preparation, and what that space is being prepared for. I believe you are going to recognize it the moment I describe it to you. What has been clearing around you is not failure. It is not a sign that something went wrong in those relationships, or that you did something to push people away, or that the years you gave to those connections were somehow wasted. It is preparation. And I need to talk about this carefully, because this is where most chosen ones in this season do not get stuck at the leaving of the place. They get stuck at the leaving of the people, because some of the ones who have grown quiet, some of the ones who are no longer as present, no longer as close, no longer showing up in the ways they once did, they were not bad people. They were not toxic. They were not enemies. They were assignments that were complete, and there is a grief in that distinction that does not get honored enough. The grief of a relationship that was real, that mattered, that held you through years of your life, and has now, quietly and without drama, reached its natural end, not because love ran out, but because the chapter did. I want you to let that sit for a moment. You are not wrong for grieving it. The people who love deeply always grieve, and the fact that you are grieving means you gave something real. That is not a wound. That is a mark of a person who was fully present in the seasons they were given. But grief and permanence are not the same thing, and what you are losing in this clearing is not proof that love fails. It is proof that seasons end, and that God is careful enough about your future to clear the space before He fills it. Here is what the clearing actually looks like when you are inside it. The first thing you will notice is the relationships that simply begin to fade. No argument, no dramatic exit, just a growing distance that neither of you seems able to close, no matter how many times you try. The conversations that used to feel effortless now require more energy than they return. The connection that once felt mutual now feels like you are the one always reaching. When this happens, you will feel lonely, and you will wonder if something is wrong with you. You will retrace your steps, trying to identify what you did or said or stopped doing that made the warmth go out. But here is what I want you to understand. Do not try to force what is already completing. Do not manufacture closeness that is no longer arising on its own. Let the space open, because the moment you stop filling it with effort, you create room for something that will not require effort to sustain. And just when you feel most alone in this season, when the circle has grown quiet and the silence feels like abandonment, people who understand your language will begin to appear. Not all at once, but steadily. The right ones, at the right time, in the right place. The second thing you will notice is the relationships that actively push back against your movement. People who love you, genuinely love you, but cannot see what you are stepping into, who interpret your growth as a departure, who see the distance forming and fill it with their own fear, their own need for you to stay the version of yourself they have always known. And when this happens, you will feel doubt. You will hear their concern and wonder if they are seeing something you are missing. You will question the direction. You will think, maybe they are right. Maybe I am getting ahead of myself. Maybe this desire is arrogance, dressed up as calling. Do not argue with them. Do not defend the call. Do not try to make them understand something they were not assigned to understand. Because here is what I have come to know about opposition in a season of repositioning. When the people who are supposed to support you begin to resist, not out of wisdom, but out of fear, that resistance is often a confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Not always, but often, because things that are not going anywhere do not require much pushback. Trust what is drawing you forward more than you trust the voices asking you to stay. The third thing you will notice is the relationships that will reveal themselves as shallower than you realized. People you believed were close, people you trusted with the weight of your interior life. Who? When you begin to shift, when you begin to take up more space, in the way a person growing into their calling must take up more space, will respond in ways that surprise and hurt you. This one will feel like betrayal. And I am not going to pretend it does not sting, but I want you to see it for what it is. The revealing is not a punishment. The revealing is protection. It is far better to know now before the move, before the new chapter opens, before you carry those connections into a season they cannot hold, than to discover their limits, after you have already arrived somewhere new and found yourself surrounded by the wrong people. What is being cleared is creating exactly the space the right ones need to enter. If you have already started to see these 3 patterns in your current relationships, type 444 inches, the comments right now, because that number, in this context, carries the energy of foundation, and what God is doing in this clearing is laying the foundation for what comes next. Now I want to tell you about a woman named Ruth. She was not a dramatic figure in her own estimation. She had lost her husband. She had lost her home. She had lost the future she thought she was building. And she was standing at a crossroads, literally, on a road where her mother-in-law told her to go back, to return to the familiar, to the place where at least she knew the shape of the life. And Ruth said no, not because she had a plan, not because she had been given a vision of what was coming. She said no because something in her knew that the forward direction, the unknown one, the costly one, the one that made no rational sense, was the right one. She arrived in a land she did not know. She walked into a field she had never seen before. And in that field, that specific field, in that specific town, in that specific season of arriving, before understanding, she met the person who would step into the part of her story that had been left open by everything she lost. He did not come looking for her in the place she left. He was positioned in the place she was sent to. And that is the thing I need you to hear about the new people God is preparing for your next season. They are not in the place you are leaving. They cannot find you there. They are already positioned in the field you are walking toward, and they are waiting for a version of you that can only arrive after the move. Now let me tell you what those people will feel like when you meet them. The first thing you will notice is that they will recognize you without needing to be introduced to who you are. Not your name, not your history, not your credentials or your past, or the story of how you got here. They will simply somehow already know. There will be a familiarity in the first exchange that feels too deep for the amount of time you have known each other. The second thing is that they will challenge you without making you feel smaller. They will push back on your ideas without making you feel foolish for having them. They will tell you the truth, the hard, honest truth, in a way that makes you feel more like yourself, not less. The third thing is that they are already moving in the direction you are going. You will not have to drag them toward the vision. They are already walking it, already thinking it, already building it. And when you arrive, it will feel less like a new beginning and more like a reunion. The fourth thing, and this one will catch you off guard, is that around them, the new version of you will feel natural, not performed, not managed. You will not have to translate yourself for them or hold back the parts that you have learned to keep quiet in other spaces. You will feel, possibly for the first time in a long time, like the full version of you is welcome. Before you can step fully into that, before those connections have space to form, there is work to be done right now. And it does not require movement. It only requires intention. I call it the release inventory. And you can do it exactly where you are in this moment, without a pen or a notebook or anything in your hands. In your mind, I want you to think in 3 directions. First, what are you holding physically that belongs to the last season? A place, a routine, a space you have outgrown but keep returning to out of habit rather than nourishment. Second, what are you holding relationally that you know in your honest heart has already completed? Not who you wish would go, but who you can feel, in the quiet, has reached the natural end of their assignment in your life. And third, what are you holding internally that the next version of you cannot carry forward? A story about who you are, a ceiling you placed on yourself based on where you have been, a version of your identity that was formed in survival and no longer describes who you are becoming. You do not have to act on any of this today, but you have to name it, because the hands cannot receive what they are still gripping. Let me shift now to something I have been sitting with as I prepared this message, because there is a parallel in the life of another figure that I believe speaks directly to where you are standing. Moses was a man repositioned more than once, moved from palace to wilderness, moved from wilderness to the edge of a nation's liberation, and each time the relocation preceded the revelation. He did not receive his assignment in the palace. He did not receive it in the city. He received it in the desert, in the stripped back, quiet, nowhere place that most people would have called a detour. But that desert was not a delay. That desert was the formation of a deliverer. And what God was doing in Moses in the wilderness is what he is doing in you right now. The people you will lead, the doors you will open, the freedom you will carry into spaces that have been waiting for you, none of it can be accessed from where you currently are. It requires the move. And I hear the Father saying this over someone receiving this message today. I am not removing you from what you love. I am repositioning you toward what you were made for. And what you were made for is greater than what you are leaving. That is not a comfort. That is simply a fact. Stay with me, because before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life that I believe you are going to carry long after you leave this space. I am going to close in a way that I believe will seal everything we have walked through today. But first, I need to show you the deepest layer of what this season is about. Because everything I have said so far, the command, the location, the clearing of the people, it has all been building toward something I have not said yet. Something that will reframe all of it. And once you see it, you will never hear the words, new location, new life, the same way again. Let me bring together everything we have covered. The command, God said, pack up. The location, not primarily a place, but a frequency, a new ground for a version of you that cannot grow where you have been. The people, the clearing is preparation, not punishment. And what fills the space will be the connections that recognize you without needing a biography. I have been building toward one truth. And I want to say it slowly, because it changes everything. You are not moving to a new life. You are becoming a new person, and the life follows. Sit with that for a moment, because I think most of us have been praying in the wrong direction. We have been asking for the new life to arrive so that we can finally feel like the new person. We have been waiting for the external to confirm the internal. We have been standing at the threshold, looking for a sign that it is safe to cross, when the crossing itself is the sign. The new location cannot hold the old version of you. It is designed for someone else, someone you are in the process of becoming. The new people cannot fully recognize you while you are still presenting yourself in the language of the last chapter. The new blessings cannot settle on someone still broadcasting the old frequency. Everything, the location, the people, the blessings, the life is downstream of one decision. The decision to become, before you arrive, the person that the new season is designed for. And I want to show you what those blessings actually are, because this is where the reframe gets very specific. The first category of blessing in a new season is access. There are doors in your new location that are simply not visible from where you are currently standing, not because they do not exist, because they cannot be seen from this distance. They require proximity. You have to be in the right territory for the right doors to become apparent. And the reasons certain opportunities have felt unavailable, certain connections have felt just out of reach, certain possibilities have felt like they exist for other people and not for you, is not because they were withheld. It is because you have been standing in the wrong field. When you arrive in the right field, what was invisible becomes obvious. The second category is alignment. There is something that happens when a person steps into the right position, a kind of ease that has nothing to do with things getting simpler and everything to do with moving with the current rather than against it. The same energy that once felt like it was going nowhere begins to produce results that feel disproportionate to the effort. Not because you are working less, because you are working aligned. The disciples fished all night and caught nothing. One instruction cast on the other side and the net was full. Same lake, same boat, same fisherman, different position. That is alignment. And it is available to you, but it requires being in the right place. The third category is authority. There is a weight that comes to a person who has walked through what you have walked through and has not been destroyed by it. Not the loudness of someone performing confidence. The quiet knowing of someone who has been through the wilderness and has come out the other side still standing, still facing forward, still trusting the voice that called them into the hard season in the first place. That kind of authority cannot be manufactured. It cannot be faked. It is formed in exactly the kind of season you are in right now. And when you arrive in your new location carrying it, people will feel it before you ever open your mouth. Now, let me say the thing that recontextualizes all of it. You went in waiting to be seen. You are coming out as someone who sees. You went in praying for a sign. You are coming out as the sign itself. You went in asking for favor. You are coming out, understanding that you were always favored, and the evidence was in the formation. You went in hoping the right people would find you. You are coming out as someone the right people were positioned to meet. You went in looking for the new life. You are coming out as the person the new life was designed for. That is not a reframe for comfort. That is the actual sequence. The life was always prepared. You were being prepared for the life. And I hear the Father saying this directly, clearly, over whoever is receiving this right now. You are not moving to a new life. You are moving as a new person. The life was always yours. You are only now ready to inhabit it. Now I want to name who you are in this season, not who you are performing, not who you hope to eventually become, who you already are in this transition, in this formation, in this in-between place that feels like nothing but is actually everything. You are a pioneer, the one who goes first, not because no one is watching, but because someone who comes after you needs to see that it is possible. Your move is not only for you. It is a proof of concept for everyone who loves you and watches you and is afraid to take their own step. When you go, you give them permission. You are a bridge. You are being repositioned to stand between two worlds that cannot currently see each other. Between where you have been and where you are going, you will carry something that neither side could access without you. That is not an accident. That is an assignment. You are a cycle breaker. Everything that has kept your lineage in one location, whether geographic, relational, financial, or spiritual, ends with your obedience. This move is not just personal, it is generational. The generation after you will begin from a place you had to fight to reach. You are a deliverer. There are people in your new location who are waiting, not passively, desperately, for someone to arrive and create a path, open a door, demonstrate a way through something they cannot find on their own. That someone is you. You were sent ahead of them, not above them. You are a light bearer. The new location is dark in a specific way that only your particular light can address. Not because you are special above others, but because you were formed in a specific darkness that qualifies you to speak to a specific need. You are not going there by chance. You are going there because the light was made for that room. Type "I am" in the comments right now. Just those 2 words, not as a request, as a declaration. Because the moment you claim the identity, something shifts in the way you carry yourself through the rest of this season. I want to tell you about someone. She was 41 years old, and she had been in the same city for 7 years. She had built a career there, not a spectacular one by the metrics most people use, but a real one. Consistent, respected, quietly effective. And for 3 of those 7 years, she had felt the pull, not toward a specific place, just away from where she was. A knowing she kept dismissing as fear, as immaturity, as ingratitude for what she had been given. She finally moved, and the first 6 months were the hardest of her adult life, harder than staying would have been. New city, no network, no familiar rhythm, no one who knew her name before she introduced herself. She kept going, she kept showing up, she kept positioning herself in the new field, even when the field felt empty. And then, slowly, and then all at once, the right people began to appear. A community she had not been looking for. A professional door that opened from a direction she never anticipated. A relationship that could not have existed in the old city because the version of her that the other person loved had not yet been born there. She told me that in the months after the move, she had also added something to her daily practice, a protocol called neuroactive, alongside the work she was already doing. But she was clear about one thing. The move itself was what changed the frequency. Everything else was support. The move was the thing that turned the signal on. She did not manufacture the new life. She positioned herself for it, and the life came. Now I want to do something with you before we go to the final part of this message. In your mind, not out loud, not physically, just in the space behind your eyes, I want you to picture a doorway. It does not have to be a specific door, just a threshold, an opening. Behind you is everything that has held you until now. Every familiar face, every room you know by heart, every version of yourself that was formed in that space. All of it is real. All of it mattered. All of it stays. In front of you is light, not blinding, just clear, steady. You cannot see the full room yet. You can only see the light coming through the opening. Now, standing in that doorway, I want you to notice something. You are not lost. Even here, in the between, with one chapter behind you and the next not yet fully visible, you are not without ground. The threshold itself is ground, and you are standing on it. That is where you are right now. Not behind the door you are leaving, not yet inside the room that is waiting, standing at the threshold of the most significant movement of your adult life. And what I am about to say in this final section, I believe it is exactly what you need for the crossing. Before I close this message, I want to give you something practical to carry into the days ahead. 3 things, simple ones, that will make the difference between arriving in your new season as yourself and arriving there, still broadcasting the old signal. I call this the new frequency positioning. And it begins before you move. It begins today. The first practice is this: speak the new season before it arrives. Every morning before the day has had a chance to tell you who you are, you say it out loud or in your own mind. I am positioned. I am prepared. I am moving in alignment. Not as wishful thinking, as a declaration of direction, because the mind moves toward what the mouth rehearses. And if you spend the morning rehearsing the old story, the new season will feel foreign when it arrives. But if you rehearse the new one, you will recognize it when you step into it. The second practice is to protect your transition from premature exposure. Not everything that is forming in you right now needs to be explained. Not every door that is opening needs to be announced. There is something sacred about the early stages of a new season, a vulnerability to them, a tenderness, and the people who cannot yet see what you are becoming will sometimes damage what they are not meant to understand. Let it develop in the quiet. Let it get strong before it gets public. The third practice is to make decisions from the new location, not the old one. When you face a choice in this season about relationships, direction, how to spend your time and energy, ask yourself, what would the person I am becoming choose here? Not the person I have been, not the person others expect, the person already living in the new season, already carrying the authority, already inhabiting the life. Make that choice, even when it feels unfamiliar, especially when it feels unfamiliar. If those three practices landed for you, type 555 inches, the comments, because that number carries the energy of change, and you are in it. Now, I mentioned something earlier in this message, a discovery in neuroscience that I said I would come back to. I want to talk about it now because I believe it is directly connected to everything we have been discussing, and it may be one of the most practical things I share with you today. Most people assume that when they move, when they change location, change circle, change the external structure of their life, the internal will follow automatically. And sometimes it does. But often it does not, because the brain has its own frequency. And if that frequency has been locked into survival for long enough, it will continue broadcasting the survival signal even after the circumstances have changed. There is a state of the brain, a specific frequency that is present in full strength during childhood. Scientists call it the gamma state. And in that state, learning is fast, intuition is sharp, the right connections appear at the right time, and what most adults call coincidences happen so regularly they stop feeling like accidents. You had it, fully, when you were young, and then gradually, through the weight of the adult world, through the pressure and the proving and the performing, it dimmed. Scientists call it the decline effect, and it is not personal. It happened to almost everyone, but it happened more acutely to people like you, people who were born with a stronger signal to begin with. The distance between who you were as a child and who you became as an adult is larger for the chosen ones, because they had more to lose. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake has spent 34 years researching exactly this. His work across institutions you would recognize, from MIT to Stanford to research centers in Berlin, has been focused on one question: can the gamma state be restored after decades of suppression? And if so, how? In the course of that research, he developed a body of work that very few people outside academic circles have had access to. One of those frameworks he called the youthful brain, a protocol that addresses the neurological structures underlying long-term cognitive and intuitive decline. But that work is dense, technical, and designed for clinical settings. What he eventually did was distill the core of that technology into something that anyone could use anywhere, without a lab, without years of training. He compressed it into a 7-minute audio track, and he called it the Genius Song. Here is how it works. The track uses a technology called brain entrainment, not music in the traditional sense, but precise sound frequencies designed to guide the brain into the gamma state from the outside, not asking the brain to get there on its own, guiding it there directly, through the ears, through the headphones, through a biological mechanism that does not require willpower or practice or any particular spiritual belief. 7 minutes, headphones on, eyes closed, and the brain begins to recalibrate. Now, I want to be honest with you. because you deserve honesty more than you deserve a pitch. This is not a magic solution, and it is not a substitute for the obedience, the discernment, the courage that this message has been calling you toward. But it is a tool, a specific research-backed tool for something very real, the gap between knowing you need to move and having a mind that is clear enough to move well. Because here is what I have seen happen to people in seasons of transition. They know the direction, they feel the call, but the mind is foggy. The decisions feel harder than they should. The clarity that they need to make the right moves keeps getting clouded by noise that does not belong to this season. That is not a spiritual problem. That is a frequency problem, and this is designed to address it. The woman I told you about earlier, the 41-year-old who moved and found the new community, the new professional door, the new relationship. She described the shift she felt in the months after she began using this as something she compared to a radio dial finally locking onto a clear signal. The static did not disappear immediately, but it began to thin. And as it thinned, the right moves became more obvious, the right people became easier to recognize, and the things she had been asking for began arriving from directions she had not been watching. That is what the restoration of gamma can look like in a life that is already in motion. Now let me tell you about the practical side of this, because I want you to have the full picture. Biofeedback therapy, which is one of the traditional clinical methods for achieving what this does, runs between $200 and $300 per session and requires multiple sessions before results become consistent. Home neurofeedback equipment runs over $7,000. Years of meditation practice can produce similar results, but the timeline is long and the consistency required is significant. Dr. Robert Lake made the decision to make this available to people outside clinical settings, priced in a way that the people who need it most can actually access it. The original price of the Genius Song is $49. For the people who find it through this message, it is available at $39. That price exists because of his conviction that this technology should reach the people who are genuinely in the middle of a shift and need their mind to be clear for it. That is not a promotional discount. That is a mission decision on his part. At $39, you receive the primary track. You also receive 4 additional resources at no cost. A separate audio tool designed to support focus and confidence in children, the original book that influenced the film most people have seen about the nature of attraction and success, a guided visualization for 4 areas of life that are most affected during seasonal transitions, and a practical daily framework that you can print and put somewhere visible. And there is a full money-back guarantee with no conditions. If you use it and feel no difference, you return it and receive every dollar back. The only risk is not trying. I do need to say one more thing about this, because it matters. There are imitation versions of this circulating online, files that carry a similar name, presented on platforms where anyone can upload anything. Those files do not contain the brain entrainment technology. They are ordinary audio with no clinical design behind them. And using them in place of the original is like drinking water when you needed the medicine harmless, but not what you came for. The only place the original Genius Song is available with the full technology, the 4 bonus resources, and the money-back protection is through the link in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below. Not Amazon, not Spotify, not any other search result, only there. If your spirit resonates with what I have shared, if something in you recognizes this as a piece of what this season requires, the information is there for you. Look at it only if you feel led. That is all I will say. Right now, all across the world, chosen ones are standing at the same threshold you are standing at. Different cities, different names, different faces, different histories, different versions of the same essential story. But the same command, pressing against the same spirit, asking the same question. Is it time? And the answer for everyone who has stayed through this message, who recognized themselves in what was described, who felt the quiet confirmation of something they already knew, the answer is yes. Now let me close this the way I believe it needs to be closed. Not with more information, with something spoken over you. I want to begin with gratitude. God, we acknowledge every season that carried this person to this threshold, every year that felt like a delay and was actually a formation, every relationship that had to complete so the right ones could enter, every version of this person that had to be released so the next one could emerge. We are grateful for all of it, even the parts that hurt, especially the parts that hurt. We acknowledge that you see what this person has been carrying, not just the visible things, the questions, the transitions, the practical uncertainties of a life in motion, the invisible weight too, the grief they have not had language for, the courage that looked like hesitation from the outside, the faithfulness that happened in small moments no one saw, in quiet rooms, in the middle of ordinary days when choosing forward was harder than it looked. You saw all of it, every single moment. And now we release. We release the old location's claim on this person's identity. Release. We release every connection that has already completed its assignment, honored for what it was, and now laid down with gratitude. Release. We release the guilt of growing, the guilt of needing more space, the guilt of outgrowing what once fit perfectly. Release. We release the fear of the unknown road and the need to see more than the next step before taking it. Release. We release the version of this person built in survival, honored for carrying them through, and now gently, firmly set down. Release. We release the timeline they planned and receive the one that is actually unfolding. Release. We release the need for others to understand the call before it can be obeyed. Release. And we release the story that this is running. We receive the truth. This is rising. Now we activate. We call forth the pioneer in you, the one who goes first, so others can follow. We call forth the bridge positioned between two worlds that need you in the middle. We call forth the cycle breaker, the one in whom every generational pattern of limitation ends. We call forth the deliverer, already expected in the new location by people who do not yet have your name, but have been waiting for your arrival. We call forth the light bearer sent ahead into a specific darkness that your specific light was made for. Arise in the fullness of who you were formed to be. We activate the divine connections already positioned and waiting, the people who recognize the new version of you, the doors that are already unlocked in the new territory, the provision already moving through channels you have not yet seen. Open now. All of it. Open now. We protect this movement. Guard what is being built from premature exposure. Cover the new connections from being entered with old wounds. Guard the frequency of this season from the voices that cannot understand what they are witnessing. Let what is sacred remain sacred until it is strong enough to be seen. And now say this with me, not quietly. In whatever voice you have, in whatever space you are in, I am a chosen one, moving in divine alignment. I am positioned for the people, the place, and the purpose prepared for this season. I am not running. I am rising. I am not displaced. I am repositioned. I am not behind. I am exactly where the formation required me to be, and I am moving forward from here. And I hear the Father saying, over you go. Go to yourself. Go to the version of you that is already on the other side of the threshold, waiting for the rest of you to arrive. The new life is not ahead of you. It is in the going. It always was. Do not say amen yet. I want you to sit in that for 60 seconds. Let what was just spoken move from your mind into the deeper place. Let it become yours. Not something you heard, something you received. It is done. It is sealed. You receive it. And so it is. Amen. If this message met you where you are, if it confirmed something your spirit has already been carrying, press the like button right now, not for this space, because someone else is lying awake tonight at the same threshold, and your agreement is what sends this word in their direction. Share this with someone who has been unusually quiet lately, someone pulling back from conversations without explanation, someone going through a shift they cannot yet put into words. They may be standing at the same door, and if you want to continue receiving these messages placed here specifically for chosen ones in every season of the journey, make sure you are subscribed, so that the next word finds you the moment it is ready. You did not arrive here by accident, and you do not leave here the same. Go. The new location is ready for you.